Hey all, Solvat here giving you a commentary and Devastation Evoker POV for Mythic Ansurek, the last boss of the Nerevar Palace. My guild killed it tonight, got CE, we got Hall of Fame. This was about US 31, something like that, like World 110. So, pretty freaking good. This was, however, the day after some nerfs, so I'll go over these really quick in case you're just starting to prog it. So this is the big nerf right here, the nerf to the web blades, reducing the targets from 3 to 4. This will make everything in P1 and everything in P3 much less chaotic. This grasping silk damage reduction isn't really too much to be worried about, you shouldn't have been taking much damage from that anyways. Um, this change here, the number of toxins being applied no longer increases beyond 3. That's the green circles that you spawn. It used to be 4, now it's 3. That just makes it so the last set before intermission is less hectic. There's less waves to dodge, so that's a good change. This removal of the last route is the same thing, makes it less hectic. There's less stuff to worry about, so there's a bit of a strat change to accommodate for that. This change doesn't really do much. You were kind of ignoring them to begin with. You might have had to kill 1 or 2 depending on your comp. And this frothy toxin damage just makes the HPS requirement to P1 even less than it already was. The shadowy distortion change, there's probably going to be a way to min-max your group so you only have like 4 people in total going through, but we didn't bother doing that. If you have already progged through P2, I would keep your groups the same because the damage on the different platforms is based off of CD timings and damage profile, so I would keep that the same. This Gloom Blast damage reduction is just the Dispel, it's just less overall damage, so that's a good thing. The number of summoned acolytes, that doesn't matter anyways. Nobody was really having to deal with the 5 set besides the world 1st through like 20th guilds. So that doesn't really matter. It's just a little less damage taken when you're about to kill the boss. Removing the first set of Royal Condemnation, that helps with the chaos and it makes you have a little bit more uptime on the boss, so that's a pretty good change, but not all that significant. And this change here, removing the web blades with the Abyssal Infusions, that's the 2 people that get the portals to place. That's along the same stuff as most of the rest of these changes, just less chaos. In terms of gear, my dev set is really not that good because I was expecting to be focusing AUG. Trinkets are good, but I'm missing the big Ansurek trinket, which is like a bunch of crit. You can see I have 18.6 crit. There's some people with like 22k crit, which is, yeah, so I'm missing a lot of crit, but it is what it is. In terms of build, I opted for something like this. If you want to go a bit more AoE, you can drop Power Nexus here and pick it into Charge Blast. I would recommend doing that if your group is having issues with the little adds of the fight. So if you're having trouble killing like these guys, the little guys that spawn on the bridges, or these guys, the little guys that spawn in P3, you can opt for that, but my guild had no issue with that, so I decided to opt for this route, which is a bit more single target focused, while still maintaining a little bit of cleave. The big thing is make sure you take Slipstream instead of Nimble Flyer. You're gonna really want these extra hovers. Alright, let's get into the footage then. So in terms of Evoker specific stuff, I double hover at about 5 seconds so that my opener doesn't get interrupted. And I do not have a freedom on me at all, so I have to save my deep breath for the root breaks. Because of the change and removing the 4th set of roots, you can deep breath yourself out of every single set, so I would recommend doing that. If you have the extra freedoms and you can get one, then that opens you up to being able to play AUG if you want to. I would imagine AUG would be good on this fight. It's just gonna be hard to kind of min-max your damage. Granted, I did horrible on this pull, but damage on this fight really isn't all that important, to be honest. It's more about priority damage and placing the mechanics right. So I have to do a time spiral there, and I'm just going to stand off to the side for this deep breath. Really, your main focus as a dragon in phase 1 is just uptime. You want as much disintegrate uptime as possible. Should be aiming for somewhere in the 50%-ish. Okay, I'm in charge of popping on this second one here, the circle marker. All I do is make sure I have renewing blaze running for when I'm about to pop, and yeah, I have a hover up so I can get out of the raid group, and then I'm sliding over once our friend to the right there was free, just to give people more room. And for this set of liquefies, similar to the Dratno strat, we decided it's okay to take up a lot of room there. You do have plenty of space, especially if you're doing your baits for the first couple liquefies and roots correctly. So here's the big change in P1. That is the last set of roots that you have to deal with. So normally, pre-nerf, you would still stay on this left side of this little line here and spawn your roots on that, but because you don't have to deal with that anymore, we opt to pull the boss further to the right so we can pre-bait the blades that go into the last set of pops. And you'll see that happen right here. You can see the weak aura wasn't completely updated, it was still saying roots. But yeah, so here's the last set of blades, and we do that so we can try and keep these portal circles clear of the blades as best as possible. And then we go into intermission. You can take Unravel here. It does do really good damage on the shield. Doesn't really matter too much though. You should have, by the time you're in kill range of this boss, you'll be holding damage on the shield anyways. So, doesn't really matter. Something helpful for the raid, make sure every single person has a personal for that second group. That still is a pretty big pain point, it hurts a ton, so you either need a personal, or if you're not topped off, you need to pop a health stone or health pot. But you can't go in dry like 60% health with no personals, you'll just die. So you want to aim for around like 44 to 42 seconds on that intermission for CD timings. And then for these void speakers here, I had to mark it, so that's fine. And again, you're just doing slow damage here because you want to wait till the second set of portals is at about like 4 seconds left. Again, for CD timings. So that's at about 3:45-ish that we try and kill these. So I'm also pseudo raid leading from P2 onwards. I'm in charge of calling out the portal groups, and that's not too big of a deal. You're just looking at the weak aura and saying who's going first and who's going next. As an evoker, you obviously want to try and chain your multi-disintegrates there as much as you can on the multi-target. This first platform, the check isn't too big. Right here, I need to mark this other ad for a kick, and then we're popping our CDs on these spiders. I'm in charge mostly of the spider damage here. Our mage is blowing up the worshipper in the middle, so I'm not too concerned about that. You can see it getting to disintegrate. I would recommend having a separate bind for your glide on this fight, so I have it on my Z button there. That's very useful for both intermission and phase 2. So again, you can take that pyre talent for right here if you want. You will do a buttload of damage to those things, but again, it's not really necessary. If your group's struggling with it though, it's not a bad choice. Alright, time for P3. P2 is not too bad, it's just making sure you have the assignments correct so the right people are on the right platforms when they need to be there. And P3 post-nerf is it's all about placing the portals correctly, killing the ads, and doing the essences correctly. So you'll see there's a moment after the second portal take where me and somebody else in my raid, or DH, are just sitting there waiting for our essence to drop because As long as we don't drop it in the raid, we're gonna kill the boss. So, as a dragon, deep breath does a ton of damage to these little ads here. So I'm also oppressing roaring this first set and the third set. It's not too big of a deal for my group anyways. We have very good damage on those ads, so it's fine. If you're just starting to prog this boss, I would highly recommend you do whatever you can to get your group to realize that ad prio damage is more important than boss damage at this point. Portals were dropped. If you get a portal in P3 at all, you need to pop a personal. And then just try and make sure you go as far as you can for the those drops there. And you essentially just repeat. For prog, this was a good lust timer. People might be starting to lust on pull now with even more damage, and I don't think that's necessarily a wrong move, but on prog I would probably still recommend lusting there to help push you through this next overlap here, which is the ads and the royal condemnation. I think you can get away with either, but I think just having the extra throughput for your healers here and the extra damage to kill these shackles and make sure these ads die as quick as possible is probably more important for a first kill. Yeah, so I'm kind of just sitting around doing nothing right there. I love Evoker range, it's great. I'm also in charge of picking up an essence, so I'm going to start looking for that right now. You can see this is literally like, I probably haven't been actually doing damage for the past like 20 seconds. And it's fine. There's me and my DH buddy. We're just back here, we're chilling. We could have tried to make it through those web blades and whatever, but there's no point. This boss, it's sub 15%, everybody's alive. We just have to kill these last ads and the boss is dead. So that's kind of the point of staying back there and not trying to be a hero. There's no point. Same thing there, deep breath, pressing roar. We dodge the blades. And from here, we have 40 seconds until ring 3, which would be hard, pretty much hard in rage. We're gonna die if we hit the ring 3, the way that this strat is. So these ads spawn, you do the royal condemnation, a couple people died there, but it's fine. Boss was sub 5%, so we still have 25 seconds until ring 3, and boss is 1% now. So that is it. It's a good boss. It's a bit frustrating because there are so many one-shot mechanics, but it should be a lot smoother to progress now with the changes to P1. You're probably going to be wiping less in that. That was kind of the major pain point, is every time you'd have a P3 pull, you would wipe 3, 4, 5 times in P1. So that's pretty cool. Alright, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I will record and post videos on our reclear of the other fights as both Dev and Og. So yeah, take it easy.